the Bodhisattva and telling this one that in other times one has had this prediction to full enlightenment and to this irreversible stage of a Bodhisattva for the simple reason that now one has these qualities of a rigid ascetic, which, according to Mara, are the qualities of an irreversible Bodhisattva. But the Bodhisattva does not have the attributes, tokens and signs of an irreversible Bodhisattva which is described. This is surely a being seen as beset by Mara, unlike these other Bodhisattvas, which are good friends. For this one does not have the attributes, tokens and signs, which are actually characteristics of an irreversible Bodhisattva. So, as a result of the enunciation of the circumstances of other times one feels conceit. In this conceit, overcome by great and rigid conceit, defeated by what's seen as the magical power of Mara, one despises brother and sister Bodhisattvas, sneers at and deprecates these. One can recognize this as a deed seen as being done of Mara, which makes uses of the enunciation of the circumstances, said to be from other times of a Bodhisattva. Also Subhuti, Mara, is seen to operate in connection with the prediction of the name which a Bodhisattva will have as a Buddha. In the guise of a monk he comes to a Bodhisattva and predicts, "This will be your name when you have won full enlightenment." And Mara, strangely enough, is seen to predict the name which the Bodhisattva had already guessed when pondering over the name one would bear after full enlightenment. If the Bodhisattva is weak in wisdom, which is pure and natural sensibilities more or less refined and without skill and means, this one reflects that, strangely enough, the name which that monk has mentioned is the same guessed by oneself. The Bodhisattva compares the name thought out by oneself with the name proclaimed by that monk, who is seen as either beset by Mara, or was conjured up by Mara or his host, and finds that the two agree, and concludes oneself has in other times also been predicted to full enlightenment by Tathagatas by name. But one has not got the attributes, tokens and signs of an irreversible Bodhisattva, as are described. Since lacking in them, one feels conceit as a result of this prediction of name. In this conceit one despises the brother and sister Bodhisattvas, and thinks that as one has had this prediction, these others have not. This pride, arrogance and conceit, which makes one despise these other Bodhisattva, keeps one far away from all knowledge and the cognition of a Buddha. Not upheld by perfect wisdom, lacking in skill and means and the good friend, taken hold of by the bad friend, one would, we must expect, belong to one of two other levels, that of a Sravaka disciple, or that of a Pratyabuddhata. Now, even if after one has spent a long time, a good long time in erring about and in wandering about in birth and death, one would again come to want to know full enlightenment by resorting to just this perfection of wisdom, and if one were to go to these good friends and regularly approach them, and if, in one's newfound outlook on life one would, first of all, censure former ideas, vomit them up, abhor them, throw them back, see their error, even then it is still difficult for this one to realize Buddha nature. So serious is the offense of conceitedness, for it is a result of pandering to the self-aggrandizing and deluded needs of oneself for immediate gratification. Among the monks who belong to the vehicle or level of the Sravaka disciples, 4 unforgivable offenses are so serious that, as someone has been guilty of one of them, that one ceases to be a monk, a shramana, a son or daughter of the Sakya. More serious than those 4 unforgivable offenses is the production of a proud thought, when, on the occasion of the prediction of one's name, a Bodhisattva has despised other Bodhisattvas, and produced a thought which is very unwholesome, which is more serious than the 4 unforgivable offenses. Not only this, but it is more serious even than the 5 deadly sins, this production of thought connected with pride, produced on the occasion when a Bodhisattva's future name as a Buddha is announced. That thought is more serious than the 5 deadly sins. In this way, even through the mere enunciation of a Bodhisattva's name very subtle deeds, seen to be, of Mara may arise. These are recognized for what these are, and avoided, both by the Bodhisattva oneself, and by others. Faults in connection with detachment. Furthermore, what is seen as Mara the evil one, comes to any Bodhisattva and exhorts and informs these in connection with the quality of detachment which Tathagatas have appraised as detachment, and that this means one should dwell in a remote forest, in a jungle, in mountain clefts, burial grounds, or on heaps of straw, etc. But this is not taught as the detachment of a Bodhisattva, that one should live in a forest, remote, lonely and isolated, or in jungle, mountain clefts, burial grounds, on heaps of straw, etc. Subhuti, as this is not the detachment of the Bodhisattva, what then is this detachment of a Bodhisattva? The Lord, a Bodhisattva dwells detached as one is detached from the mental activities associated with disciples and pratyabuddhas. As one is taken hold of by perfection of wisdom and skill and means, and as one dwells in the dwelling of friendliness and of great compassion towards all beings, one dwells detached even as one dwells in the neighborhood or village. Thusly ordained is this detachment from the mental activities associated with disciples and pratyabuddhas. A bodhisattva dwells detached as one passes day and night dwelling in this detachment. As any bodhisattva dwells in this dwelling while one lives in remote dwelling places, in remote forests, in the jungle, in mountain clefts and burial grounds, thus one dwells detached. But as to the detachment recommended by Mara, the evil one, i.e., the dwelling in remote forests, jungles, mountain clefts and burial grounds, as this detachment is actually contaminated or tainted by the mental activities associated with disciples and pratyabuddha, just so, as one does not apply as one practices the perfection of wisdom, one does not fulfill these conditions necessary to realize all knowledge. As a result, one dwells in a contaminated dwelling, in a mental activity which is not wholly pure. By consequence of this, one despises other bodhisattvas who dwell in villages, but which are uncontaminated by mental activities associated with Sravaka disciples and pratyabuddhas, who dwell in dwellings of